Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So when I was in Dubrovnik, I got the chance to go on a day trip into Bosnia and Herzegovina. I got to see Kravica Falls and Mostar. So I thought I'd make this video to give you my thoughts on the trip and help you decide whether or not it's worth going yourself. So I'll break this video into three parts. The first part will be like a general description, what we did from start to finish. The second part will be things to be aware of, I'll say, and last part will be just a general summary of what I thought, and then we might give it like a score or something. But before we get into that, if you like photography and travel content, then you're in luck because that's all I do. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, then check out my channel for more content like this. Okay, let's get started. So the trip began at 8 AM. We met in front of Pila Gate in Dubrovnik. There was kind of this big square area with benches and stuff that everybody's meeting up at. There's about 4 or 5 other tours going at the same time. So the place was crowded, and the guides would come up to you and ask like what tour you're on. There was another trip, another Bosnia and Herzegovina trip, but we weren't on it. So there's actually 2 different trips. One was with like 45 people, I believe, and the one we went with was like 15 to 20 or something like that. We got on the bus, we drove along the coastline up to the newly built bridge, which connects the 2 parts of Croatia that were kind of split by Bosnia and Herzegovina. And it was pretty cool throughout the whole thing. The guide was giving us like the history of the towns we were going through. Like I think one of the towns was like the first botanical gardens in the area, explaining why the country was split the way it was. And just cool like histories and life in those towns. So it took us about, I'll say 2.5 hours to get to the border. The wait at the border was pretty long. It took we were sitting there for about half an hour. But once we got through, it was about half an hour to Kravica Falls, which I have to say was really nice. We got to spend just over an hour there. Yeah, we got to spend just over an hour there, and it was really nice. It was really relaxing. We didn't actually know beforehand that you could go swimming, so had we known that, we probably would have planned it. But it was nice. It was just a chill spot. There was places to get drinks and stuff across the lake, and it was just really nice to look at. So after that, hopped back on the bus, and it was about half an hour to Mostar. And again, on our way there, she was giving us a history of Bosnia and Herzegovina as a whole, and cool facts that probably would not have known unless I'd gone on this trip. So it was really cool to hear her talking about that. Once we got to Mostar, we were kind of we were there for 3 hours. They organised a walking tour throughout the old town, and that was really nice as well. Learning about like the history of Mostar, how the bridge was built, it was rebuilt after the war, and how the place was found. It was really cool. And then we were given 2 hours to kind of just do whatever we wanted. Went for a quick bite to eat, then we were just exploring the old city, and it was really nice. The streets are very small and narrow and shops either sides, but it's really cool. I really like the atmosphere of the place. And then after that, it was another 3.5 hours back to Dubrovnik. So that's just a quick summary of the day. I thought it was really cool, but I'll go into things that you should probably know before you go on this trip. The first thing I'd say to be aware of is that Bosnia and Herzegovina is not an EU country, so there is a hard border. and you will need your passports when crossing from Croatia into Bosnia and Herzegovina. I don't know if it was just the day that was in it or if that's normally how it is, but we were sitting at the border for about half an hour or 45 minutes or so. So take that into consideration when you're booking the trip. Despite the fact that it's not in the EU, we actually found a lot of places in Mostar accepted euro for payments, so it wasn't too bad. But if you want to convert it, as of making this video, I think 1 Bosnian mark is 50 cent euro. So just keep that in mind when you're going to. So that would be something to keep in mind when you're going on this trip. And as well as that, most places were cash only, so definitely remember to bring some cash with you when you're going on this trip. And even though most of the shops on the street only accepted cash, we found a lot of restaurants actually accepted cards for payments. And if you're vegan and planning on going on this trip, then you're in luck, because there's actually plenty of restaurants that have vegan friendly options around the place. We were kind of surprised by it. Having come from Dubrovnik, we were expecting there to not be as many. While we're still on the topic of money, the cost of the trip doesn't actually include the entrance fee into Kravica Falls. It wasn't that expensive. I think it was about €10 per person, and like that they accepted euros, so make sure to bring extra cash for that as well. If you're planning on doing this trip in the summer, bear in mind that Mostar is one of the hottest cities in Europe. It is really hot. I think it's something to do with it being surrounded by the mountains, so it traps in the heat. But if you can handle the heat very well, like me, don't worry about it too much, because you'll probably be spending most of your time in the old city, which was relatively colder compared to the new city. I think like most people are aware, like most shop owners are aware that it's really hot, so they had their form of AC blowing into the street, so it was cooler when compared to the new city. So it's not the biggest issue to worry about, but do keep it in mind if you're somebody that can't handle the heat very well. Now on to the biggest thing you should probably be aware of. I did give a breakdown of time, but altogether we spent about 7 hours on the bus, and altogether 4 hours not on the bus. So it was like 3.5 hours to get to Kravica Falls. Spent an hour there, half an hour to Mostar, 3 hours there, and then like 2.5 back to Dubrovnik. So for me personally, I wish I'd done a bit more research beforehand, knowing that. So even though I liked Kravica Falls, I did prefer Mostar. I think it had a better atmosphere to it. So if given the option, I would have skipped Kravica Falls and gone straight to Mostar and spent more time there. So to sum things up, I really enjoyed the trip. I thought it was very interesting learning about not only places in Croatia, but about Bosnia and Herzegovina, because I probably wouldn't have visited the country had I not seen this day trip advertised while I was doing my research. I thought it was really interesting learning about the history of the country and how it operates almost. We got a little bit of an insight into that. But personally, the biggest downside of it was the amount of time spent traveling. Like I said, if given the option, I would have preferred to have skipped Kravica and gone straight to Mostar to spend more time there. So altogether, I'd probably give this trip a 7 out of 10, because I really enjoyed it. I loved learning about the history. I loved the fact that I got to see a different country. But it was a lot of time spent traveling. So, what do you think? Have I convinced you to go on this trip? Have I maybe convinced you not to go on this trip? Let me know in the comments down below. And with all of that said, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. It would help out a lot. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.